The designers on Back to the Future 2 were faced with an interesting proposition, predicting what would still be remembered of the 80s decades later. Concept artist John Bell decided to draw from the mid-80s design tropes. He used geometric shapes and patterns to design a fitting logo for Cafe 80s. Over in the real world, a number of different trends were emerging. They would all contribute to the late 80s' own distinct visual style that would set the foundation for the following decade. In sportswear, LA Gear had quickly risen to be a simply irresistible new brand. Nike gained new heights after the introduction of the Air Max, growing out to become a true icon among sneakers. Sony and Philips were embracing the use of popping colors and outrageous design cues, helping them to market their new portable lines to a specific demographic, from the yellow sports Walkman to the vivid My First Sony. In the music industry, drum computers were paving their path to legendary status. With this new sound came a range of new design cues. Nena Cherry's Buffalo Stance was an electro-hip-hop song, illustrating this new style, blending live-action footage with abstract fluorescent backgrounds.
We always hang in a buffalo stance. We do the dive every time we dance.
The frantic editing of these videos nicely matched the pace and energy of the music. The electronic dance scene was just one area in which fluorescent colors played their role. Particularly when it came to targeting a young demographic, these popping colors were widely used. The late 80s also marked the emergence of a new generation of rebelling creatives, eager to extend the boundaries in design. Among them was the Buffalo Youth Collective, arising in London, referenced in the song Buffalo Stance. The Designers Republic was another British collective, making their mark on design. Their work is defined by their play on consumerism and brash use of typography. Art director Neville Brody also raised the design of written content to a new level with his way of using typography. This new wind in design spread within the community through the independent magazine Emigre. It was encouraged to explore alternative possibilities and to make work that resonated with their intended audiences, as opposed to appeasing the lowest common denominator.
I can't let go.
Many of these young creatives were embracing the emerging digital tools. Computer graphics had become a widely recognized new form of art at this point, stretching all the way from desktop publishing, pixel art, to 3D imagery. What they all seemed to have in common was the overall colorful and vibrant style. The quality and quantity of computer graphics had increased dramatically over the years. It was still a time of major advancement in all areas, for instance, in the field of artificial intelligence. Implementing behavioral animation made it possible to move dozens of characters at once instead of animating them individually. In this era of rapid expansion of CGI, creatives continued to experiment with computer animation within their productions. Captain Power was an early example of a TV show that boldly integrated computer-generated characters. The cartoon series The Galaxy Rangers used computer graphics more subtly, setting it to use for its dynamic video display elements. Bill Croyer, one of the animators on Tron, had also retained his interest in the digital arts. His studio worked on several productions that utilized computers as an assist for hand-drawn animation. The result was dynamic camera movements in a traditional animation style. The biggest revolution in computer graphics came in the form of the high-end 3D packages. The companies Alias and Wavefront were two of the software houses selling their own 3D software solution. By the end of the 80s, these packages were really starting to mature, offering a versatile and robust toolset via a graphical user interface, whether it be modeling, texturing, or animation. The software ran on the Silicon graphics systems that similarly catered to the professional 3D market. These workstations were competitively priced and could run a whole range of high-end packages, in contrast to solutions from Quantel or Bosch. Silicon graphics systems and the 3D software packages would cause a major revolution in the market. Every company with a budget of $150,000 could now wet their toes in the high-end 3D realm. Combined with the growing computing power, resulted in massive advancements in computer animation. TV commercials were starting to feature complex character models made from countless polygons, and the advanced ray-traced renderers made it possible to produce lifelike images. For the pioneering computer labs that led the revolution in the early 80s, it had been a less fortunate time. Within this rapid-changing industry, most of them shut down their services. Even at Lucasfilm, the computer graphics team was forced to split off to continue their venture at the cutting edge of CGI. Part of the team founded their own company, named after their supercomputer, the Pixar, a product they still continued to sell to various companies as a means to earn revenue. However, it wouldn't take long before Pixar closed down all its additional operations and would fully dedicate themselves to making a feature-length movie. What made them unique was the combination of computer graphics scientists and artists under one roof. Together, they pushed the art form forward, both creatively and technically. Their animated shorts remained the perfect way to showcase their advancements. Over at Lucasfilm, there was still a growing interest in the new digital arts. Various members of the ILM visual effects department had warmed up to embrace digital tools. They combined their craftsmanship with the power of the Alias 3D software and Silicon graphics workstations, setting them to use to realize a photorealistic fluid creature, an effect that would be nearly impossible with other more conventional techniques. Another pivotal tool in the production process became an industry standard later on, Photoshop. It was used to stitch together photographs to create a reflection map for the water surface. The Abyss truly demonstrated how far computer graphics had developed over the decade. As the 80s came to a close, digital tools in all areas of production were quickly emerging. It was clear computer graphics was about to enter a stage of maturity. A field that had certainly matured at this point was that of the music video. It had become a fully fledged industry and a crucial part of the total promotional package.
Break it down.
The general idea of what a music video should be became established, and many directors started to navigate within these borders. On the other hand, experimentation also continued, and some directors visually pushed the boundaries. David Fincher's work, for example, clearly stood out among the crowd, setting a mood through his stylistic black and white cinematography. In 1989, Fincher directed the biggest cinematic productions for Madonna, demonstrating the power of pairing video with music. In contrast, his video for Paula Abdul was made with a more rebellious lo-fi approach. Straight Up was shot on 8mm black and white film to create a raw, grainy, and blown-out look. Combined with the purple finish, made it visually really stand out. Music videos were a big stepping stone in Fincher's career. Creatives from different fields and backgrounds were starting to wet their toes into this new industry. From designer Daniel Kleinman, film school graduate Marie Lambert, to filmmaker Jim Blashfield. Music videos were a great way for directors to experiment, thanks to the general high dose of creative freedom. Jim Blashfield's signature style revolved around image collages. His work ranged from a highly improvised video for New Shoes to an elaborate ride for Michael Jackson's Leave Me Alone. Each and every element that appeared in the video was shot separately, ranging from peacocks to a 360-degree rotating brain model. These photographed assets were all cut out frame by frame. The water splash effect particularly required weeks of work by hand. the tireless work resulted in a visual spectacle and a standout among music videos.
So just leave me alone.
The established photographer Jean-Baptiste Mondino similarly enriched the video scene with his creativity. Like Blashfield, he often relied on layering multiple sources of footage together, although with a different style. One of his concepts was to simulate a continuous shot that stretched the entire video, as showcased in Chris Isaak's You Owe Me Some Kind of Love.
Don't wanna hurt you, I don't wanna see you cry. I just wanna hold your love.
Mondino adapted this concept for Nena Cherry's hit single Man-Child. The result was a continuous tilting camera to simulate the gentle rocking of a newborn child.
Man, child, look at the state you're in.
Making the final edit and layering all footage in these complex videos was typically done at post-production facilities. The rise of the post-production facilities went hand in hand with the growing number of high-end special effects systems on the market. The frontrunners in post-production were already embracing the move to a digital workflow. Effects suites like the Quantel Harry provided for their needs with a fully digital environment to edit, do video compositing, and apply effects, ideal for short-form broadcast productions. These new digital video effect systems allowed the combining of images from different sources without generation loss. Some of the high-budget TV spots made the most of their capabilities by combining numerous layers into one single shot. Post facilities like the Post Group also contributed to new TV shows like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Quantel's paint tools helped to realize various effects like phaser shots. The Next Generation was in several ways a signature production of its time. The practical effects proved to be the strong foundation on which they could start experimenting with incorporating computer graphics. The other classic franchise, James Bond, had also continued to find success throughout the 80s. Adapting to the zeitgeist by adding a more grounded and harder edge, while not losing the staple ingredients, romance, humor, and the Bond lifestyle. The new direction was also present in the production design of Peter Lamont, setting a more grounded style, but yet still keeping it Bond-esque. Bond's final outing in the 80s, License to Kill, would truly mark the end of an era. Not in the least since it was the final involvement of Maurice Binder in the creation of the iconic title sequences.
Got a license to kill.
His successor, Daniel Kleinman, was already wetting his toes into the Bond franchise, directing the License to Kill music video. While there was a shared pool of entertainment that was enjoyed internationally, individual countries also had their own local productions. Europe had a rich, thriving comic book scene, continuing to be enjoyed by kids and adults alike during the 80s. Each country had its own favorites and flavor. A drawing style that had retained its popularity was the use of well-defined outlines and is therefore regularly referred to as the clear line. A flat shaded style with only a minimal role for shadows in favor of a clear, well-balanced image. Mobius chose the clear line as art style for his new comic book series, The World of Adina. Clear line and the more dynamic counterpart Marcinelle School were two of the long-established styles. There was also a new generation of comic artists that clearly rebelled against the establishment with their rough drawing technique and edgy theming. The European comic characters had been a rich pool for Japanese animation studios. The Belgian comic character Cubitus, for instance, starred in a Japanese animated series. It became a successful show, broadcasted around the world. It was just one example of the numerous collaborations between European and Japanese creatives that led to a host of cartoon shows blending both worlds together. They all had the shared touch of the Japanese animators, but their underlying art style could vary greatly. Of great importance to the overall look was where the conceptual design and visual development was done, and how close they stayed to the source material. Take, for instance, David the Gnome, a Spanish production, animated in Japan, building on the work of the Dutch painter this series was based on, all melting together to create a distinct visual flavor for the show. Japan was without a doubt a powerhouse in animation, whether they were contracted or at the roots of production. Next to these animated shows, it was also a formative time for animated features. Studio Ghibli released right out of the gate timeless movies with the highest standards in animation. For Disney, it was also a transformative time on multiple levels, not in the least because of their experimentation with new production methods. In the final shot of The Little Mermaid, they tested their new tool called CAPS, a digital paint system that was co-developed by Pixar. It was not the only use of computers in Disney's contemporary features. In The Great Mouse Detective, they helped to realize sweeping camera moves in the climactic battle. They programmed a dynamic camera move through the computer-generated clockwork. The wireframes were subsequently plotted on paper, frame by frame, serving as a guide for the animators. Creating the final artwork was still done traditionally with pencil and inks, merging the best of both worlds. The Great Mouse Detective was an important feature in helping to pave Disney's future after a period of turmoil.
He's a genius, Dawson. A genius twisted for evil.
With Roy Disney as an important ambassador for their feature animation department, a new generation of artists and directors could make their mark. While they remained loyal to the crafts by hand, the computer was continuing to be a helpful tool in the animation process. On the home front, Disney had been equally on a rise. One of the strategies of the new management was to extend their business by setting up a TV animation department. It was initially a small studio that still had to prove themselves. They were not entrusted with the big licenses, which actually proved to be a great benefit. It forced them to pursue more original ideas, like the Gummy Bears, a brand new adventure-filled series loosely based on the Little Gummy Candies. The success of the Gummy Bears would quickly result in additional shows, like the action-adventure series DuckTales. The classic Donald Duck comics of Carl Barks became the driving inspiration for this new series. The stories written by Barks were well-beloved thanks to the adventurous spirit. Even into the 80s, Barks had continued to paint elaborate scenes starring his beloved characters. His work was a strong foundation for the Disney TV animation team. They, in their turn, expanded Duckburg with new characters and further fleshed out various aspects, a process called visual development. Visual development remained an essential piece of the workflow during production, as all episode-specific objects, characters, and locations needed to be designed. Similar to the other Disney TV productions, animation was outsourced to various Asian studios. The combined craftsmanship resulted in a high-quality show on a TV animation budget, featuring expressive character animation and a high level of consistency in the character drawings, making audiences grab on weekly to some DuckTales. DuckTales was also the perfect property for a video game adaptation. The platform game, with its adventurous spirit, became a true bestseller, perfectly capturing the feel of the animated show. Magazines dedicated to this generation of gaming were becoming hot, wanted items for kids on their mission to beat their favorite video game. Another important mission of kids in the 80s was completing your own sticker album of your favorite movie or sports event. They were also a way of expressing your individual taste. It was not uncommon that a desk or closet was splattered with stickers to form a collage of the things you liked, from Garbage Pail Kids to the latest Panini albums. Like opening a new pack of stickers, the arrival of new toy catalogs was a true moment of excitement. They were the way to learn about the latest releases within a favorite toy line. The photography featured in these print outings was often something else, capturing the fun of the toys with elaborate set pieces to display them at their best. The pop culture stream of the mid-'80s had continued, introducing new icons like RoboCop and the Predator. A big development within the movie industry in the late 80s was the importance of the home market. The movie studios had initially feared the home video, seeing it as a competitor to the cinema reruns. By 1986, it was clear that rentals and sell-through would provide them with an important new stream of revenue. Drastically lowering the price point made the box office hits easily sell millions of copies. It was one aspect of a new marketing model for blockbusters that took advantage of all merchandise and multimedia cross-promotions. The 1989 Batman was a fine example. Kids could replay the adventures in the video game tie-in or play with the new line of action figures while listening to Bat Dance by Prince. The Batman logo was therefore one of the most widely published images in '89. This iconic rendition incorporates many of the design tropes of its time, like a shiny reflective surface and extrusion for a 3D effect. The huge marketing and licensing campaigns solidified the road for film studios forward to finance the ever-growing budgets of their big event movies.
Keep busting.
While the movie and music industry embraced the new marketing outlets, the late 80s was also an important era for a new generation of artists, rebelling against the status quo and embracing the new digital tools. All these trends and developments had given the late 80s a different flavor and laid the foundation for the following decade. The entertainment industry had undergone its share of trends and developments throughout the 80s. Among them were the rising digital arts. It was a revolution, spearheaded by pioneers, presenting in the 80s a new way of realizing images next to established arts. Another new phenomenon was the music video becoming a defining aspect of 80s entertainment. Next to these trends, the decade forever enriched pop culture with countless productions and a unique 80s fun flavor. All the combined work, wherever it is in entertainment, media, or arts, captured the imagination of many aspiring creatives growing up in the 80s and pursuing a career in design or entertainment themselves.